ain't sleeping till Hollywood, Hollywood. We ain't sleeping. Hello, I am Caleb McDonald.
And I am Gaelyn and
And you are listening to the No Sleep Till Hollywood podcast. The podcast where we're not sleeping until we make it in Hollywood. And while we're up, we will be discussing the state of the industry and our place in it. And today,
lift me up,
we are talking about
hold me down, keep me close.
You want to tell them?
Safe and sound. All right, y'all, I'm actually ridiculous. But if you could not tell by my wonderful singing, my amazing vocals, vocals by Gaelyn, we are talking about, I would say, the best film of 2023. Or 2022, personally, me, myself. I would say this is the best film of 2022. Do you have a counter opinion?
I looked at you because you said 2023.
Oh, okay, because it was a delay. So I was like, first of all, I was like, do you have a counter opinion? But the best film of 2022, Black Panther's Wakanda Forever. This is the moment where I'm going to let Caleb do his monologue, because I would not suggest listening to this episode if you have not seen the movie.
Listen, y'all. If there's one thing I'm passionate about,
it's people.
A spoiler-free environment. That being said, there are some instances where people do have to talk specifics. And so, for my people listening who have not seen the movie Black Panther,
shameful.
Do not watch. Do not watch. Do not watch if you haven't seen Black Panther.
This episode is not supposed to come out till December 6th. So if you have not seen the movie by then, you need to have a very serious conversation with yourself.
Listen, I don't believe in victim blaming, all right? If you haven't seen the movie, that's fine. Just don't.
You might need to go to your own ancestral plane and figure that one out.
Just don't watch this. Don't listen to this if you haven't seen the movies. This is for Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever.
Okay. I think they got it.
I hope they got it. Before we get into like the outline, something just like very general, 10-second response. How did you feel about this movie? Overarching.
It was a piece of art. That is the only way I could explain how I felt about this movie. What is so funny?
What does that mean?
What do you mean? What does it mean? It was a piece of art.
A piece of art.
A piece of art.
I thought you said a piece of a part.
Yeah, no.
So this is why we have to enunciate.
That was on you.
That was on you, friend.
Context clues.
Listen, it's you. That vague answer was also something you would say.
How did you feel about the movie?
Besides it being the best movie of 2022 and potentially 2023, it was needed. It was necessary. Thank you. Those are like my big thoughts, you know. But get into some specifics. I think the big thing, obviously, Wakanda Forever advances the MCU plots, which y'all know I don't know nothing about all the rest of that stuff in the Phase 4 and all that food. I don't get that up. But I think more importantly, what I got from the movie, and I think what a lot of us are talking about, is this theme of grief, right? The movie in so many ways was about grief. And as much as we as a culture are grieving the loss of the late, great Chadwick Boseman, the first Black Panther we really see on screen, the characters in the movie too are mourning that loss. And then subsequently mourn another loss that we'll get into later. But I want to know for you, talk about Chadwick Boseman. What did he mean to you? What did he mean to you? Yeah.
He was every Black historical figure that I've ever seen a story about. He was Thurgood Marshall. He was Jackie Robinson. James Brown. Like,
that's one of the best like music biopics. Like, That's a good one.
He was just that guy. Like he was Black history to me.
Yeah.
What about you?
He's one of my favorite actors of all time. Truly a master of craft in a way that I aspire, right? Like that's like the kind of work that you just are like, damn, I want to be able to do that. I hope I can do that one day. Of course, being a DC native, he is an alumnus rather of Howard University, the real HU. And he's one of my favorite Howard alumni, of course. Like he's just that dude. But I love the fact that they renamed the art school after him, and now it's the Chadwick Boseman College of Fine Arts. And I love that. But he's just truly one of the greatest actors we've ever seen. I fundamentally believe that the fact that he does not have, I'm pretty sure he was not Oscar winning in his time, which I think is insane. It's disrespectful. It's crazy. But, and obviously, awards do not a person make, but I think that there is something to be said for such an amazing talent that I think was not given the critical success and the critical love that I think he should have received. But amazing actor. And like I have never heard a story about Chadwick Boseman where he wasn't the nicest person you ever wanted to meet. Like there's not a bad story about him out there. And so I just have to believe that like he was one of the kindest people on the planet. Like I just have to believe that because of the stories that we see, the videos we see of just him going out of his way to make people feel loved. I think that's the big part of like why Black Panther 1 was so successful, is that like they gave us this movie that in itself was a gift. And then everything you hear about Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther and what he did in terms of like just making kids' days. Like there's a whole story about him where it was announced that he was going to be the Black Panther. A kid had cancer. He went to go visit the kid. And the kid was like, basically like, I hope I make it to see you be Black Panther. And I think Chadwick Boseman like came dressed up as Black Panther to like show the kid. Like it was something like that, but it was like, and I don't think the kid, he did pass before the first one came out, but like just stuff like that, where you're like, this is somebody who went above and beyond to make Black Panther special for us. And I think that's just like, I don't know, I just feel like that's how he walked the planet,
Yeah, every single role that he had was also like a role of like integrity. And so, it's one of those things where, hey, who in the world knows? In secret, maybe he was the worst, but you would never get that from how he presented himself.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like he doesn't have wasted movies. I think a lot of actors, you're trying to take roles to build a career. And he doesn't have wasted roles. Like there's no movie where I'm like, that was a throwaway. You just need to make some money. Or that was just so you get your name out there. But like everything was so intentional. It was so, like you said, just in the integrity with which he told a lot of these stories. I think it's just really important. And, very grateful that I got to witness the work on the screen.
Do you remember watching the first one?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Were you at Syracuse when it came out? Because I was a sophomore.
Yeah,
so I feel like you were a freshman. You were a freshman?
Yeah.
Did you go to the screening?
No, I didn't go to that screening. I just saw it.
You missed out on like the best experience, bro. Like it was lit. So Syracuse, shout out to the MPHC. They bought out the theater. And like we could all go see, we bought like $3 tickets to go see that movie. Okay. It was popping. And we went and they had a red carpet. Everybody was dressed up. It was lit. Like honestly, it was so much fun. I think I still have the pictures I took from that night. But it was just so much fun to like watch it in a theater with all my friends, and like the Black community of Syracuse, and to just like watch this movie and like cackle. Like, I remember like it was such a fun movie because I think watching movies with Black people is such an interesting experience. because we treat everything like church, which is to say everything is call and response. And so, like, I just remember the first time, like, Killmonger came on the screen, all the girls, we was like, "Ooh!" And everybody was screaming and laughing. And it, like, we kept doing that every time Michael B. Jordan came on screen. And somebody was like, all right, y'all, you can't do this every time. And I was like, dang, the men are salty. The men are salty. They don't look like Michael. All right, now. But I just remember, like, there was just moments like that. It was so much fun. It was so enjoyable. And I just remember watching the movie, and it was like, I felt like a little kid. Like, I was like, dang, like, I needed to see this movie. Not only for the version of myself that was watching it in real time, but I feel like for, like, little baby Gaelyn, who just needed to see this. See Black people lead a movie. See an African country that wasn't colonized and what that could be like. To see Africa, the continent, and to see technological advancement and not just see poverty the way that so much of Western media tries to portray that continent, right? To have Killmonger, who was Black American, and talk about what it means to know that you are African, but be separated from your heritage and your lineage and your birthright. Like, I think it was just such a beautiful movie. I remember, like, crying. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, like, beautiful. Everybody was like, my friends were laughing at me because I was in full on. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, I was just distraught and so happy at the same time. What about you, Caleb? I saw it. I saw it twice opening weekend. I saw it once.
Yeah, I saw it a couple times.
And then I saw it once with a man who ain't in my life no more. But I enjoyed the movie, okay? It's a great movie either way.
I saw it a couple times that first weekend. You know, I was sitting there. I think I was being Black in this Black movie with this, like, Black experience. And, you know, even before that, there was this Black soundtrack. And there was this Panther that was Black too. And it was just very appeasing to my melanated experience.
So controversial. The first soundtrack is so controversial.
Why is that?
Because it was a movie about Africa with very few African artists. Like, it was Kendrick Lamar, and that was pretty much it. Versus, like, you had Lion King, The Gift, where Beyonce went to go find actual African artists, and people were like, she's co-opting the African experience. But y'all was eating Kendrick Lamar little album up, and it wasn't even good.
That's controversial.
The score was really, I think I liked the score for Black Panther 1 a lot. Mm-hmm. I did not particularly enjoy what Kendrick Lamar did with the soundtrack. I didn't feel like the music, I don't know, I feel like Black Panther, like Wakanda Forever, the soundtrack feels like the movie. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think for me, Black Panther just was like, this feels like you got Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a Kendrick Lamar album, and it wasn't Black Panther. It just existed in this weird whatever. And I think, like, All the Stars, I didn't think was a great song. I don't really know what it had to do with the movie. Whereas Lift Me Up, I feel like communicated the themes of the movie.
I will say the soundtrack, because the soundtrack had released before the movie. And I couldn't listen to the soundtrack until the movie, just because my no spoilers brain. But no, the song definitely did hit. I don't remember lyrics now, but the song definitely did hit.
First of all, what was SZA saying?
After credits rolled, huh?
What was SZA saying? All the stars are... That's all I got.
Okay, but that's his English. No one understands SZA. You have to have the lyrics rolled up.
I was like, all right, she is saying something.
But no, I needed, I don't know, the soundtrack when it came out, it was definitely a Black boost for me that I needed.
I will say, I ordered the vinyl for Wakanda Forever. Mm-hmm. Black Panther, I ain't even saved that thing on my title playlist. Like, Mr. Lamar, God bless him.
But no, everyone I know was very excited for the movie. Matter of fact, they were holding the movie more perfect than I thought it was, if I'm being honest. but that's just because I needed to see one thing. I needed to see one thing that they couldn't do. To be fair,
What did you need to see, Caleb?
Okay, so look, movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black nation. Then you have this villain who wanted to attack white people.
Yeah.
For me to fully get the scope of the movie, I would need to see the villain accomplishing some of his mission. Now, if you showed that
one white country out, like a small white country in like East Europe, and just take them out.
I'm just saying I needed to see like this guy had some power, but they couldn't show that. And for that reason, it felt a little flat because the final battle was just them getting out of Wakanda, but not make it. So like, it was like, okay.
Well, the final battle was about getting Wakanda back from Killmonger.
Well, right. And so what I'm saying is, because that final scene was like the ships going out ready to destroy the rest of the planet, but we couldn't even see one of those ships like wreak havoc on some people. Like again, it's not that I wanted to see the violence, but I needed to see the depth of what we're dealing with here.
I'm just here to say that much can be said about Killmonger and Michael B. Jordan's performance. I think people have very valid whatever. Killmonger wasn't wrong. I'm sorry. Killmonger was practicing historical Black Panther principles. Arming the Black community, protecting the Black community, Black unity. I'm just saying he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. Nothing you say was wrong.
She said it.
Y'all know I'm an activist. Y'all know I'm a radical. I have a Black power fist tattooed on my stomach. I practice what I preach often. Or I try to. And Killmonger wasn't wrong. Wasn't wrong about the thing he said.
What does the movie mean to you, considering that Killmonger means so much to you?
I think the movie. I think Black Panther is a very special movie. I think it showed me that that not only is my career possible, but what it could do. Mm-hmm. Right? That like Black people can lead a multi-million-dollar franchise, i.e. Marvel, and create a sub-franchise that goes on to be one of the most commercially successful films of all time. And that is so important because we get told that Black people cannot open films, particularly abroad. Like we get told if it's a movie with Black leads, it's not going to do well globally. And this movie globally smashed the first one. The second one is doing really well, $330 million globally right now so far. And this is opening weekend. It already has surpassed, what's that movie, Black Adam or whatever? Like it's surpassing a lot of things that have been exciting this year and have been exciting in general. It's the biggest November opening of a film since Hunger Games in 2013, right? Like it is important to know that Black people can be commercially successful in this industry, because once you see that, it allows for Black people to do what they want in the industry. Like now, we've proven we can do we can make money for Black people only. We've proven that we can do global success. Like now it's like, let Black people make the movies they want to make. Right. And if it's not that, then it's nothing. But like, let us do what we want to do. And I think that was what was so important to me. I mean, it like Chadwick Boseman said at the SAG Awards when they went for the first one, like, to be young, gifted, and Black. It's an incredible time for that. And so I'm just, Wakanda Forever, that's a movie it's gonna stick with me for a second. It's gonna stick with me for a second.
Yeah, I know for me, the movie was exciting. Because, I mean, some people don't, so I can't say everybody knows, but there is a general understanding of Black history. And so for the movie to have this escapist element where you're looking at superheroes and you're looking at a nation that was untouched by colonization, but also still have that history and what that looked like, what that meant for people, and the fact that, you know, even in the movie, it was not fiction. That joint was not too long ago and is definitely still affecting people today. So I think it was just nice seeing that start in such a big franchised movie, and excitement for like where that could go. And yeah, Wakanda Forever definitely did prove that it can keep going in enticing ways. Yep.
Yeah.
And they were able to do that without the late Chadwick Boseman. Um, how where were you? How did you find out when he passed? And what was your reaction?
Found it on Twitter. I think that was kind of like the way that like everybody found out. Like Twitter, I feel like probably like an Apple News article or something popped up on my phone, and I feel like I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it didn't make sense because we didn't know.
Right.
Like, the fact that I was like, he died, and y'all are telling me it was colon cancer. I'm like, when did he have colon? Like, literally, I'm like, when did he have colon cancer? Because there was something about there was something about the way Chadwick Boseman engaged where I just feel like in my head, and this is stupid, but I was like, I would have known if he had cancer. He ain't got, like, what do you mean? He's Black Panther. He don't got cancer. He was just doing, because in my head, I'm like, somebody who got cancer ain't doing all them damn Marvel movies back to back to back. You ain't finna be running and flipping and tumbling and jumping and fighting folk every day. Why? Why would you do that? You have cancer. Right. And so I just remember seeing it on Twitter and being like, nah. And I was really like, nah. Like, it just was like, what do you mean? And it just was like a hole. Like, I feel, because Chadwick Boseman passed after Nipsey Hussle, I believe. And I feel like it was a similar thing for me of being like, I'm sorry, what? What do you mean gone? What do you mean dead? I don't understand that. And it was just very difficult for me. I just remember being very like, it took me a second. It took me a little while.
Yeah, no, I definitely found out through Twitter as well, which definitely causes you to go on a research tirade because you never know what people are doing on Twitter. Like, why y'all saying this? Why y'all saying that? And like, it wasn't so much that he passed. It wasn't like the idea that he passed that like really affected me, but it was the fact that like he was sick for a while and that was kept secret. And then like thinking about like all he was able to do, because like he was doing full on action movies. Like, okay, when he was doing Jackie Robinson and whatnot, you know, a little athletic here and there. Right. But like, no, like he's doing movies that literally kind of push your strength, all while battling.
People who are well, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you are healthy and able-bodied, a Marvel movie is exhausting.
Right. So the fact that he was able to do all of that, like he didn't quit. And so that's very respectable. And that made me
like, it makes you kind of just be like, I don't know, like grind culture is bad, but I think there is something to be said for like Chadwick Boseman was doing all of this while he was sick. I can do a little more, you know. Like I think that's the thing is like Black Panther already was like, a motivator of excellence in a way. And I think that to know that Chadwick Boseman himself was also a motivator of excellence and was a servant, right? Like your final years on earth, you're sick and you are choosing, you could do any movies. Like Chadwick Boseman he could do anything. Not that we don't need rom-coms, but like he could have been doing rom-coms. You decided to play so many important Black men so that way we would have those movies and you know you're sick. That is like servant leadership right there if I've ever seen it, you know?
But you know, his death was definitely emotional. How emotional did the sequel make you?
Bruh, I'm still crying about that movie. And I saw it yesterday. It has been
Mm-hmm.
over 24 hours since I've seen the movie. And I was done. Like the opening credits alone took me. I'm over here and I'm just crying in the theater. Like it was a very hard and necessary movie. I think there's something, not that they knew this was the timing of the world, right? But the fact that we have lost so many Black cultural icons in the last few years. From Nipsey Hussle to Virgil Abloh to, you know, we literally just lost Takeoff of the Migos. And his funerals were on Thursday and Friday, and the movie opened on Thursday night. And we've had so much of this, like, sadness as a community. And I think the fact that this movie gave us a way to mourn Chadwick Boseman, but it also, I think, gave us an excuse to mourn in general, and it gave us a pathway and a language for grief. When we don't talk about that a lot as a society, we don't talk about grief is personal, but I think as Black people, between state sanctioned violence, between gang violence, which is still in some ways, I would still argue state sanctioned violence is just a systemic violence, and illness and loss, like we have lost so many people, that this movie allows us to mourn them. And I think because of that, the movie was emotional for the story, for Chadwick, and for the culture for me. And so I was a crying, sobbing mess, child. It wasn't pretty at all. What about you?
It arose emotions for sure. And I don't blame I don't blame any lack of intense emotions on the movie. I think it's just where I am right now. But but again, the movie did such a good job at talking about grief that and as I mentioned, one of the parts that made me really feel Boseman's death was the fact that like he was carrying the sickness for so long and he hid it. And in the movie there was a scene where Shuri said my brother was sick and he didn't tell me till it was too late. And so again it was like, yeah, okay, you got me. And the fact that the movie does deal with grief and anger, I mean, it'd be a feature if somebody did watch this movie without a tad bit of emotion running off the screen.
I think it's a different experience watching it and being Black. I really do. I don't think, like, I've seen white folks talking about the movie, and like, I don't think what you said is the same is true for everyone. I think that is like a Black experience of the movie, is to be like, I don't understand how you can't be emotional. And I think that like a lot of white people weren't feeling that. So I think something like, I think Black Panther, like as much as it's Black Panther, it's still a Marvel movie. And I think for a lot of Marvel fans, it's just another Marvel movie.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't think they got that. But I also think the same way, like Black Panther, I don't think they got what we got from Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? Like Black Panther, I don't do Marvel movies. Mm-hmm. I've seen both Black Panthers in theaters because it's Black Panther. And for Black people, I think it's Black Panther and a Marvel movie. Whereas I think for like a lot of like non-Black folks, it was just Marvel.
No, because while that is true, I will say these two movies do a great job at because like both of the movies you're dealing with Wakanda, and Wakanda's not really a part of the rest of the world. They operate alone. They are alone. So both of the movies do a great job at highlighting the story of Wakandans without even messing with the rest of the Marvel universe. And so something that I was actually very happy in seeing in the second movie was the fact that like they actually made this movie a sequel. because all the rest of the movies are definitely like world building movies where it's like, oh, we're gonna see this later on, or oh yeah, we're doing this movie so then we could advance the plot. But like,
Mm-hmm.
no, the way that they referenced the first movie, the way that they really took into account the timeline of things going on, it very much makes like Black Panther movies their own show, which I do love.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, I think it's just. Mm, mm, mm. But speaking of this wonderful movie, it's a great movie. What? 'Cause there was a lot of good. Let's just. I mean, we'll get into particular performances in a second, but like they were acting down in this movie. Like they were giving performances that I was very excited to watch. They put a lot on Letitia Wright, and I have to commend what she was able to do, because this is a hard movie. But in that, with there being so many good moments, what was your favorite scene or moment?
My favorite scene would have to be the beginning when Queen Ramonda entered the UN's quarters and told them about themselves.
She dragged them so bad.
Because
First of all, Angela Bassett is the monologue queen. Okay? We don't need to give monologues to nobody but Angela Bassett and Viola Davis. Everybody else can talk in 2 sentences at a time. We don't need monologues for nobody else. But Angela Bassett came in that thing. It has never been Wakanda's practice to trade vibranium. I said, ooh, go ahead, sis.
And and also I love that, because considering that, like, A, Marvel, big name, B, Disney, bigger name, considering that these two big companies are not shying away at all from the fact that other countries, wider countries, I won't mention the US because they've been a little scared to do that one, but
first of all, they kill me with that. Etazuni. I'm like, first of all, that's United States in French, which is really just United States backwards. But I'm like, every other country was France, China,
right.
Etazuni.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, they did that because
okay, Marvel.
They was trying to erase America from the whole.
Because we also know what Marvel movies are about. Like, we know what they're really about. Like, we know really what Marvel is. Which is why I'm not really a fan of the Marvels.
But the fact that they are being so bold as they are letting themselves
as bold as they can be.
Right. And talking about the fact that, we would love to share with you guys, but you guys are the problem. And we have an example.
But also, like, this goes back to shout out to Ryan motherfucking Coogler. One of the coolest, baddest, coldest directors in the game. Like, he don't miss. Ryan Coogler has not made a bad movie at all. He has not made. I feel like every time I see a Ryan Coogler movie, it is now his best movie, and that speaks to like his work. But it's like he wrote the script along with I forgot the co-writer's name. Give me 1 second. But he wrote the movie along with Joe Robert Cole. But like the fact that Ryan Coogler, like, you're not talking about Marvel. You're talking about what Ryan Coogler wrote and was allowed to push through. Because if this had been written by white folk, we don't get what you just said. That's because Ryan Coogler is a black man in America who has blackity black experiences, who has faced police violence and harassment, and then writes
like last year.
But I'm saying while they were filming the movie. We'll get into how many, like, I have so much about what Ryan Coogler put into this movie, but like, he writes from his experience and he puts it in the movie, and then it gets allowed to be there. Because I'm just like, she said what she said about the other countries. They march them white men in and tell them to kneel. Like Colin Kaepernick. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just so much that's there.
Mm-hmm. But, No, that definitely was my favorite scene. Yeah, because and you thought they weren't gonna be ready?
Like,
Ooh,
that you
yeah.
could have killed me. I'm like, okay, they giving up this. I'm like, I've seen Wakanda. They ain't finna just give up this vibranium like that. When Shorty came out that Volks, hello. I said, ooh. I said, y'all came to play with Okoye today? Oh, y'all don't value y'all lives. Because Okoye gonna get y'all. Okoye,
Right.
she gonna get you. Okay.
Dude.
Speaking of Okoye, one of my favorite moments in the movie that's not this one, which we share. Any scene with M'Baku really just did what it needed to do. But when he called that girl a bald-headed demon.
Bald-headed demon?
Bald-headed demon. I said, ooh. I cackled out. Because, like, where do you even come up with that? And that was improvised. Like, shout out Winston Duke. He came up with that. Because I was like, you can't write something that funny. You just can't. Because if it had been written in the script, it wouldn't have been that funny. But the fact that Winston Duke sat in his mind and said, bald-headed demon. There's a TikTok that's like using that boondock sound. He's like, that's not homophobic. He gay. So I said he was gay. And she like, the girl like used it. She was like, M'Baku in the movie. She bald. I said she was bald. That's not bullying. That's facts. And I was like, that's accurate. Because that's exactly, that's all. He called her a bald-headed demon. She is bald. Ain't she?
Yeah, he ain't say nothing wrong.
See, unlike when Chris Rock made the joke and, you know, Jada Pinkett Smith was sick, he called her a bald-headed demon because she was bald. That's a part of the warrior costume, but he's in the culture, so he could say that and it's not bullying. I just going back to how to make jokes properly, you know.
Cough, cough. Take notes, people.
Excuse me, Jesus, be offense. But I just thought, like, why you didn't have to drag her like that? Every time I think about that from now for the rest of my life, I'm just gonna laugh.
And did the movie have any surprises for you?
First of all, there were two big ones for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start in the order that I'm gonna go in the order that they happened in the movie. Who the hell told them they could kill off Angela Bassett?
Yeah, that was
Ryan Coogler. You know I'm a big fan. I would like to work with you one day. I think you're a very nice, very good director, very smart, very good writer. I like you. But I did not give you permission to do that. We already are sans Black Panther. We done cried the first hour and 23 minutes of the movie about how he gone. Then you gonna kill off Queen Ramonda? What's wrong with you?
That's what I'm saying. That's what made it worse because we're already mourning this really big loss. And now you expect us to have the same level of sympathy for an actress who's still living?
Pulled out the white funeral garments again. I said, oh my gosh, I can't even do this again. I didn't have no more tears left. I'm crying air at this point. Like, that was so, I think for me, like, then again, you know, Disney love a one-parent story. They love an orphan story.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like something for me, I'm like, I was not expecting that. And the way she died, and this goes back to it, and I have to talk about this, right? The Wakandans are an African nation. The enemy in this movie, the Talocan, or what were they? They're not Talocans. That's not what they were called, were they? But Namor and his people. Right. I don't think they were Talocans, but Namor and his people.
They were Mayan.
They were Mayan, but I don't remember. I can't remember. They weren't the Talocans. Like, that's not what they were. Like, them. But the Namor and his people. I'm sorry, it's not Namor. It's Namor and his people are water people. There is such a history of Black people in water and how we came to America by boat and by water. Many people did not survive that trip, and for their final resting place is the water, going back to the first movie of Bury Me in the Ocean with My Ancestors, who knew that death was better than bondage, right? You get to this country, there's water, and Black people are systemically taught to fear water. There are so many Black people, like Black people not swimming has become a joke, but it's serious. Like in the segregation era, Black folks weren't allowed to swim in the same pools as white people. When they did, they would drain the pools, right? You have, HBCUs, a lot of HBCUs instituted that you have to pass a swim class to graduate because Black people were dying in water because we do not know how to swim as a people. I'm one of them people. I cannot swim, right? So the fact that Queen Ramonda died in this movie, after we've already dealt with this loss, but died in water. And it wasn't that she couldn't swim. We saw her swim.
She was saving.
We saw her swim up, to go get the girl. And she saved the girl from dying. And she dies in water. That to me was just like, wow. Like Ryan Coogler thought about the diaspora of our experience and brought all of it to the movie. And I think that was big. I mean, like Ryan Coogler couldn't swim before the movie. He said he had to learn how to swim so he could get in the water and direct the movie. Angela Bassett was like, I could hold my breath for 20 seconds. Now I can hold it for 4 minutes. Like it was a movie of Black and brown folks, many of whom had to learn how to swim for this movie. And then we talk about the only people that had a fighting chance against the Wakandans were folks that lived in water. All these other superpower countries that out here killing everybody else can't do nothing to Wakanda. But water is where there was a weakness. Like I was like, that is a historical connection that is so smart. And so again, you have to be a smart storyteller. And I think that is just an example of the genius of this movie that I haven't really heard us talking about, but it's just like, dang. But that was shocking.
Very
and then shocking part 2. I don't even know how to say this to express my shock. But I just knew in the ancestral plane. She was walking behind that chair and I saw something, sticking out the chair. I thought that was Queen Ramonda's hat. Because the way it was sitting, it looked like it could have been a hat. But then I remembered, I thought to myself, I said, Gaelyn, this is the ancestral plane. Everyone wears all white. When I saw Eric Killmonger, baby, I was in that theater. I said, just like that. Just, oh my. He said, hey, little cousin. I said, oh my God. He loved to remind people that he related to them. That's my favorite thing that he do. Hey, auntie. Like, sir, you got to tell us that you related every 2 seconds. Thank you. Thank you so much. But I was shocked. Shocked, I say. That is not who I expected to see.
At all. I'm not going to lie. I thought maybe we were going to get a Chadwick Boseman, a little scene before he left. I prayed, I hoped. This did a good job, though. Did an amazing job.
Yeah, I knew it was never going to be that because I've been paying attention to the making of the movie. And so I knew that the script wasn't even finished until 2 weeks before Chadwick Boseman died. So from script to screen ain't 2 weeks. I know that.
I don't pay attention. Spoilers.
It's not a spoiler. That's industry.
Nah, because they be saying, oh, this actor just got cast. And then they be saying the character's role. And then it's like, okay, I could have found that out in the movie.
You have to actually, you have to make that announcement. That is an actor's.
Okay, but I prefer to avoid those announcements. Spoilers.
They're not spoilers.
They're spoilers to me.
Ay. Knowing who somebody played in the movie don't tell you nothing. All I knew was that man's name was Namor. I didn't know what that meant. I was like, who is Namor? He wasn't in the first, because it's me. I go, who this character? They wasn't in the first movie. I guess they're going to be in the second one.
Exactly.
They don't tell me who they are, what they do. Because I didn't know what was going. Listen, all I remember in the trailer when I saw the water, I said, why they in the water for? That's all I said. Because the way that they had it, it was like when he was like, his arms was outstretched like Jesus and he was flying in water. I thought that was like M'Baku or somebody drowning in the water. Like I didn't understand that we were meeting a new set of peoples, Right. I didn't get that from the trailer. I just was like confused. I didn't understand. Anything that surprised you other than, because yeah, I think that's funny. You thought, so what? How did you feel when it was Eric? When you saw Michael B. Jordan?
I was speechless because I was like, oh, that was not who I was expecting in that chair. I was like, oh, what does this say about Shuri?
Yo, because
that's him.
Yo, because I was thinking, he was like, but you chose me. She's like, no, I didn't. He's like, but you did. You doing the same thing I did. I wanted vengeance. So do you. So that's why you got me.
And then when they showed us the second half of that scene later in the fight, I was like, oh.
She's coming for blood, bro.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing, right? Like, I think there is something. The ancestral plane as a concept is one of the coolest things. I learned this on TikTok, but apparently in the first movie, when Killmonger goes to his ancestral plane and he sees his daddy, because that's the only ancestor he technically has, because he got whatever. If you look in the scenes, they're in the apartment. Apparently there are bars on the windows because he's like separated from the rest of the family.
Wakanda?
Yeah. I thought that was crazy, but it's like, I feel like every time we see the ancestral plane, there is, it's just a beautiful concept. So to see like Killmonger, yeah, and it to be, you chose me because of your intentions when you came into this moment. Because the Black Panther had been gone for a second, like for over a year.
Right.
There was no Black Panther. It wasn't like you did. It wasn't like, I guess the ritual is that like when the Black Panther dies, the next one is supposed to assume the mantle. You didn't follow tradition. You waited until you felt like you needed the Black Panther. And then therefore your intentions chose what you saw. But it's like, good.
It was that, but it was also mixed with the fact that he had like ruined the plant. And so like she only found something similar to the plant when this new vibranium enriched environment came about.
But think about it, even with that, she was trying to build the heart while he was dying, and then she stopped.
Right. Yeah.
And she didn't come back to it until, you know what I'm saying? But I think there's something like, there is something about the ancestral plane being a place of wisdom. And the kind of wisdom you get is all about what your intentions are when you go into the space. I think there's something really profound about that. But I was not expecting to see Michael B. Jordan.
And I was also surprised by the Talokan. Like the land was amazing. I mean,
it was underwater Wakanda. Did anyone notice that?
Yeah, no, that's
Like, but I'm like, in terms of the structure of the city, like it had the same, like Wakanda is built up and had a lot of this upwardness, and then Talokan was the same, but it was just down.
Right. No, it was, and I did love like the little things they threw at us, like them playing sports, and I recognized the sports from my history days. So I was like, oh, they getting historically accurate and all this.
They were very historically accurate. Also, I love this. I'm not, Latina. I'm not indigenous, and those things. But like everybody who is like I follow on my timeline is like super excited that he's like a brown skinned man. You know what I'm saying? Like he brown. Like Namor wasn't like a light skinned or white passing Latina. Like nah, he was brown and he looks, indigenous, and he has features that are like. I thought that was dope. Like I think in the same way that they beautifully showcase the different colors that Black people come in, they did the same thing on the Mayan indigenous side that I thought was really beautiful and really just respectful to the world they had built and then the world that they are representing.
Agreed. It was very nice to see. And the actor himself even spoke on that. He was like, yeah, no, usually they have Mexico looking like these white cities, but not this time. I got to do it accurately. Yeah.
Shout out to him. Shout out to I'm going to say his name wrong, I feel like, but Tenoch Huerta? I feel like I heard him say his name. Tenoch. I feel like I heard the name said, but I don't think I heard him say his name, and so I'm not sure about any of the pronunciations that I heard.
Gotcha.
He did make me mad, though, while we're talking about him.
Yeah.
Ooh, he made me mad.
He was amazing.
He was,
in every scene.
The girls is on TikTok losing their panties over him. Okay, they is in heat on TikTok about him, and that's all very fine. He was very nice to look at those things, but he made me mad. You just gonna take out Angela Bassett? That's treason right there. You have got to go, sir. But I was just very upset with him the whole movie. Like every time he came on, I was like, because he was out here sassing Angela Bassett. First of all, I feel like once you sass Angela Bassett on the screen, I don't like you. You have to work very hard for me to like you after that. Honestly, Kiki Palmer and Aquila and the Beat, she was getting on my nerves. She was sassing Angela Bassett, and I was like, I don't like you right now. We're going to figure this out. But he just made me mad all the time. He was so good, but he made me mad.
No, he was amazing. Because every scene, like there are a lot of times where I'm watching something and then like I get lost in the fact that like I'm watching an actor act right now. But no, with him, character was strong the entire time. I was watching him in every scene, like really negotiate for his piece, like see where his mindset's at. I could see the character thinking and not wait for the next line.
He just made me mad. But like, what was I going to say? That moment when he's talking to Princess Shuri when he first brings her to the little cave junk that's like not underwater yet. Or I guess it's underwater, but not deep. And he's like, oh, then she's talking to him. She's like, and he's like, yo, no, my people and my land, this is my history, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh, I would love to see it. He's like, okay. It's like 80 bajillion feet in the ocean.
Right.
The pressure is going to break every bone in your body. Your blood will become toxic. You'll die. Or you can wear a suit. I think we got some of those laying around. Like, that killed me. Because I'm like, he is describing a slow, painful death. Or we just put you in a suit. I'm like, bruh, you didn't want to lead with that? Like, that was like comedic timing on 100. That was so funny to me. Oh, it was funny.
But Letitia Wright also had an amazing performance because specifically like the scene where she is talking with Namor underwater and whatnot, like the acting that she did in the first Black Panther was great. That being said, knowing that she was going to take up the mantle in the second movie, I was interested to see how that would go. And the aspect of the character that surprised me the most was seeing the leadership that Shuri had. And so seeing Letitia Wright actually carry that out, because, you know, she was the comedian of the family of Wakanda. She has cracking up. So like when you see that comedic character like take the mantle as like leader, it's like, oh shoot, they did it. All right.
Like she went from being she wasn't even a strong supporting character, right? Like if you look at her screen time in the first movie, she was impactful, but she wasn't. Denai Guerrera and Lupita Nyong'o were the strong supporting cast of the first movie.
Right.
She was there, but she wasn't the movie. You know what I'm saying? To now become number one on the call sheet. Well, number two, because they said in honor and respect of Chadwick Boseman, he was always number one on their call sheet. But to take on being the lead of the film, and in so many ways was like vulnerable and naked. Like you don't have Chadwick Boseman. You don't have Michael B. Jordan. You don't have Angela Bassett for the second half of the movie. And now you have to step up and shoulder this movie in this franchise that is bigger than you and was able to really do it in such a beautiful, I mean, like she went through the stages of grief in front of us and never quite makes it on the other side in the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like she's not, and it's messy. Like she's not like, grief is angry sometimes and it's sad sometimes. And it's like, and she just let all of that happen in front of us in a way that I have not really seen people do. But I think she did a fantastic job. And I think Marvel movies don't get nominations the way that I think they should sometimes. I think there's like, I've only seen 3 Marvel movies, including this one. And only 2 of them did I enjoy, including this one. But I think like there are nominations to be had here. And I think that everyone's talking about Angela Bassett, and I think that is a deserved conversation. But I think that Letitia Wright deserves a nod for lead actor in a drama movie. I think that there is a nomination to be had there. I think that Marvel and Disney are doing this film a disservice if they do not run a serious Oscars campaign. Because I think that this could be the movie that changes that conversation for Marvel.
Letitia Wright did do an amazing job alongside Namor, alongside Angela Bassett, which even our smaller characters, Okoye, she was great.
Skip over Angela Bassett. We was skipping over her because I had more to say about Auntie.
Please speak.
Auntie Bassett. We just not gonna skip over her like that. That moment when Okoye comes back without Princess Shuri, and they're in there arguing and whatever, and Angela Bassett is like, my husband and son are dead and my daughter is missing. Have I not given everything? I'm unwell. I'm unwell. Like Angela Bassett for president, Angela Bassett for best. She should get an Oscar for best actress of ever in life. There's so much to be said for Angela Bassett. Right. We didn't even see Queen Ramonda's hair that much in the first movie. Y'all done made the woman so sad she cut her locks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is, as a Black woman, when you that sad that you start cutting your hair, that's a different level of grief and sadness. And she cut her hair because the locks were shorter, and then she cut them and took them out completely. Like that, Angela Bassett played this role in such a way that she really led us through the grief while she was on the screen. And then when she was gone, she led us through the grief from the ancestral plane. And I'm going to need her to get an Oscar for this. I might actually have to. I know I always am going to say I'm going to fight somebody if we don't give insert Black person an Oscar, but I think this time I might have to choose violence. This may be the one.
Might see Killmonger in your ancestral plane?
Listen, Killmonger, vengeance is mine. Wakanda forever. Okay? Y'all better hope that's not who I see.
Okoye.
Denai Guerrera.
Oh, Denai Guerrera.
Was that
Okoye? Always does an amazing job in that role.
Okay.
I loved seeing her, and like every time, because upon first seeing her, like we all know that she is the baddest in the game, and that's from a skill point level. Like she can handle her own and then some. But then at every chance that we get, we also do see this fun side, this side that does like to joke around, and so I loved seeing her have fun with the new girl Riri, and the triad of Okoye, Shuri, and Riri, that was just such a fun dynamic to watch unfold.
That moment when she's like, it's not my shade. It doesn't match. I don't look, see, that's what's wrong. I don't look good. That. Right. She was like, you look fine. You look great. I was like, that's such a girl thing. Wrong moment, but that's such a girl thing to do. But I loved the scene when she got stripped of her title. And she was crying on the floor. Because you start with that one single tear and then she fall on the, I was like, Denai Guerrera is acting from her grief, right? That is right. I did everything I could and it still wasn't enough. And that was a moment where I was like, this movie in so much, I hope this movie was cathartic for the actors because of the way that Ryan Coogler wrote the script. I hope that it was a catharsis for them because they were, it was in there doing the damn thing. And it was a lot. It was very much a lot. But I mean, another moment. Again, give her a supporting actor nom. Like, I want to see the whole category be Wakanda Forever. That's what I want. I want it. And I want it the way I want Drake to stop wearing those bobos at the end of his head. Desperately.
Drake, please stop. You have been asked.
I've asked politely.
Someone whose character I'm glad they brought back, not that we really knew that she was gone, was Lupita Nyong'o.
I think that's the funny part, because I don't watch the Marvels. So, like, they were like, oh, yeah, there was a civil war. And then Black Panther, he was gone. Then he came back. I said, he was gone. Then he came back. He was gone. I don't know what y'all talking about. And it's like, they're like, oh, yeah. And then she left. I'm like, she left? Because I didn't see her. I'm like, where is Lupita at? She not at the funeral? She not nowhere to be found. They were like, oh, she's in Haiti because she left after the war. I said, first of all, I don't know what y'all talking about. Okay.
I had no clue either.
What I need them to do is I need people to make super cuts of Marvel movies so you can, like, follow the characters you care about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need a super cut of every scene outside of Black Panther, of every scene that a Wakandan is in, so I know what's happening. Because I'm not finna watch. It's like 80 million Marvel movies. Where do you even start if you're trying to catch up in the Marvel universe? I don't even know.
Iron Man.
That's where you start? I don't want to see that man. I don't find him to be I don't like the costume. I don't really like him like that.
All right, you need to calm down because Tony Stark.
I don't like him like
the staple. He had the best character arc. You gotta stop playing like that, right?
I don't really care about the character arc. I'm just saying, I tried to watch Thor, and I thought that would work because what's his name who plays him is cute. So I thought that would work for me. I didn't get it. I didn't really understand what's going on there. No,
like, collectively, the Thor movies they got better with the third one, but how you make it three movies? Yeah, no.
I think that's the thing. Like, I think to me, like, Black Panther, you can, other than like little things like that, and they still do a pretty good job of telling you, like, oh, you left. Like, they give you enough of the clues where if you didn't watch it, you still know what's going on and you can catch up. You know what I'm saying? Like, they give you that. Kind of like with sitcoms, how, like, after each commercial break, they tell you what's going on. So in case you just are popping in, you know.
Yeah.
But I think Black Panther you can watch as a separate movie without having watched everything. But when I watched Thor, I was like, I feel like I need to have seen everything else that came before this to understand what's going on here. And that was like, for me, as somebody who's not going to watch 47 movies to watch one, it just didn't work for me. Whereas Black Panther, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going because it's Black. And it works. Like, you can literally just go because you're Black and you still going to understand what's going on.
Enjoy yourself.
But yes, you were excited to see it come back.
Right. And my favorite scene of hers was, like, her talking to the woman in Mexico on the peninsula, because, like, this is just such a smart character. Like, you see that she knows all these different languages. You see that she could read people and, like, understand, like, where to put pressure at, because, like, at first the lady that she wanted to talk to wasn't budging, and then she was like, I've seen him, I've experienced him myself, and it's like, oh, okay, you got my attention now. And so, like, just seeing her, like, be cutthroat but with words is always enticing to see.
Yeah, the end scene, the post credits scene, the in between credits scene, because there was like 4 credits. When she introduces Toussaint to Shuri was such a beautiful, because you see her come out, you see Shuri in the foreground, you see them in the background, and you see Nakia holding a baby's hand. You're like, who is this baby? Like, we know she works at a school, but who is this baby and why is she bringing him to Shuri at this moment? And then she's like, Toussaint, this is your auntie. Oh, my heart. My little heart was so happy. Because that little boy is so cute. Like, he was such a cute little baby. And then it's just like, she's like, oh, that's a cool name. He's like, so is yours, I guess. It was such a sweet moment. Because I think seeing the last time I saw Nakia, she was deciding to be or not to be the Dora Milaje. And so I see her as a warrior. I see her as this strong woman. Yes, there was the love moments with her and, you know, T'Challa and all that. But, like, to see her now as a mother and to see her as somebody who has really the only person in the movie that we've seen who has made peace with their sadness about the passing of T'Challa. And to see her introduce this baby to his auntie and like that be a whole, it was really nice, especially because I know that I remember hearing this, at least, that Chadwick Boseman's wife was pregnant when he passed. And so I believe they have a baby. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but a baby. And the idea that like a similar thing happened there, right? Like I think that like T'Challa has this child and Chadwick has this child, and like where those two things meet, I think is really beautiful. Especially because that little boy in some ways does look like Chadwick Boseman. There's something about his face and his spirit that just gives Chadwick Boseman. And I was like, I needed to see that at the end of the movie before y'all played Lift Me Up and had me sobbing.
Right. The last character that we need to talk about for sure is Winston Duke.
Last but certainly not least. Certainly not least, M'Baku. The funniest person in this movie.
Oh yeah, no, he's hilarious.
Hands down. He was clowning in this movie.
But I did love his serious moment when he was talking up Shuri, because like in the first movie, he was this character who hated her because she scoffed at tradition.
A child who scoffs at tradition.
And in this movie, he came to her as a man. He came to her. He was like, "Listen."
He came to her as a man.
Yeah, he was like, "Yo,
you watching Caleb?"
I
was watching Wakanda Forever, Lost in the Jungle or something. I don't know what movie you was watching.
But no, he came to her and he was like, "This is what we need right now, and you have that." And like, it's what pushed her to fully embrace the Black Panther and all of the responsibilities that came with it. So that was one of my favorite scenes from him.
In the same scene as Bald-Headed Demon, the single greatest line of the year. When he was like, when she was describing, like when Okoye was like, y'all, they was here, they came up on a whale, they was doing this, they was blue, they was purple, they was coming, and he goes, a fish man? Who asked him to be like this? Because every time he called Namor a fish man, I was like, he's not, again, the same way he called her a bald-head demon. He's not wrong. He's just silly.
Right.
Because he certainly wasn't wrong, child.
He's observant.
Observant. Anybody else stand out to you? I know we just kind of went through like the main cast, but anybody else that just sat in your soul?
So I love Everett, the colonizer. He really do be advocating. And Riri. So in the first movie, right? The first Black Panther, they decided to throw in the joke, "What are those?" And it felt very okay.
What?
Like,
okay. My sandals. I was watching that clip again today. My sandals. I thought I would go with something traditional for the first day. I know that Elder ate that up. Like that was funny to me. As a fellow corny human, I thought it was funny.
No, because for me, like it was like, oh, we literally just got out of that phase, and they brought it back. That being said,
movies when they wrote it, it was on time. By the time the movie came out, it was late.
That being said, that's sort of how Riri's humor read to me. Like whenever, because it was just like a little too much. It was getting to too much. It wasn't, but with her, it felt like it was getting too much. Like just be a character, like ease on some of the character quirks that she had. But I did love the introduction of that character and the fact that we got another smarty pants,
another smart Black woman in tech. I don't know why I pointed to myself. I'm not a smart Black woman in tech, baby. I'm just a smart Black woman. No, I'm not in tech, child. And won't ever be. Okay. Don't ask me to build no spaceships, no planes, no rockets, no nothing.
Not even work with a camera. Just not.
First of all, I can do the cameras. I have a GoPro.
Okay.
I make TikTok content. I've been changing little settings on my camera and everything. I be doing stuff.
So then you're a woman in tech.
I'm a woman in cameras.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see the rest of the Black Panther story unfolding in the MCU? You know, assuming that we don't have any major losses.
Why did you ask me that question? I done spent this whole thing talking about something. I don't know what they be doing over there in the MCU. I don't know. What does Phase 4 even mean, baby? Is that like seasons? Like, you know how there's like seasons of shows? Like, is that
low key? So like they'll have projects that all fulfill a goal, essentially. So like the first phase was getting the Avengers together.
Oh, I knew it.
No, I was just giving you an example. I wasn't explaining all of it.
Okay. Because I was like,
yeah.
Explain. Okay, go back to your explanation. I just wanted to make sure you weren't about to tell me about all.
Because like the first phase was each of the Marvel characters like being introduced, so then we could get to phase 2, which was the Avengers.
So, but this movie is talking about phase 4, but Black Panther was just introduced. So isn't this phase 1?
No, because so phase 1 was like the years of like 2008 to like 2012, let's say.
But you just said it was about introducing the characters. He just got introduced.
Introducing like superheroes like Iron Man, Thor, Hulk.
But is like, Black Panther not a superhero?
And he was introduced in phase 2 or 3, I think.
But you just said if phase 1 is about introductions, this is phase 1.
Phase 1 was about introducing certain characters. I said certain characters.
Okay.
Black Panther was introduced in phase 3. This current phase is about this mutant thing that they bought. So they bought the right to X-Men. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, Namor is part of that mutant.
You know that apparently that was like they stole like basically what Ryan Coogler did with that is like that was supposed to be like Namor was an Atlantis guy, and instead of doing Atlantis, they named him Namor and put him in the Mayan regions, the Mayan Peninsula, and made it so that way they could do that representation. So that was dope. I was like, look at you finding options and places for representation and just moving stuff around, and being like, we don't need no more white people, and just tossing them to the side.
Right. Yeah, no.
But yeah, I don't know nothing about how it's going to unfold anywhere because I don't know nothing. I'm just excited. They said Black Panther 3 is coming. I'm very excited to see it. I happen to be free. I have nothing on my calendar after, I can't announce that on the podcast yet, after a specific thing. But it's not long enough that we should not go ahead and put me in the consideration for the movie. I do not have a great accent, but I will work on it. And I will come to the movie and I will be, or I could just be a Black American in the movie. And I have a storyline. I have a storyline to pitch for myself. Ready? Boom. So, Shuri, she gay a little bit. This is just the feeling I have about when I watch her move. I could be the Black American girl that she fall in love with when she has to come to America for like 5 seconds. She's over here doing something, fighting crime, finding somebody doing something. She meets me. She gets distracted. We share an amazing night of passion. Then she goes back to Wakanda. Then later, like months later, for whatever reason, she comes back to America. She sees me and we try to pick up where we left off. And then she's trying to get me to move to Wakanda because she's in love with me. And I'm like, but my whole life is in America. And she's like, my whole life is in Wakanda. And there's the story. There's my storyline. I pitched it for myself.
Okay.
I think it's a good storyline.
I would like to pitch myself as Miles Morales in the MCU. I am Black Puerto Rican.
You know who they want to play Miles Morales? Because somebody's Jordan Cooper, who he has a show on BET, the Miss Pat show. I just saw him post on Instagram. He wants to do a live action Miles Morales set in the 80s. And they keep trying to put Jabari Banks as Miles Morales. That's what I saw on his Instagram. That's ridiculous. It sounded kind of fire. I was like, I'm kind of into this. Set in the 80s. Because like you get like, because like, I guess something about Miles Morales and basketball, but like 80s being like prime NBA years and some cool stuff there. Like set in Brooklyn in the 80s. He wants like Spike Lee to be a part of it. Like I was like, this sounds kind of like a fire film. I don't know nothing about the Spider-Mans but I would go watch this. But I just wanted to pitch myself for the next Black Panther. That's it. I just wanted to tell everybody I'm available. Right. My agents can be contacted. I ain't got nothing to do.
And I have no idea what the movie, where the movie could go. Because I mean, they've done a great job at like putting history into the bulk of these films. So if the next movie is another society or an ongoing conflict with the surface world, I'm
Every time they called it the surface world, I promise you, I fell out. I was like, the what? I was
That's
like, oh, y'all
all I
mean
will
land.
reference.
I'm like, y'all mean land. Got it.
That's the only way I'm referencing the Earth from now on.
On the surface land. It's the same way that once I found out that Glorilla's real name is Gloria Hallelujah, I will only call her that. Her name is Gloria Hallelujah Woods. It makes sense when you think about it. And then you listen to her music, like, it makes sense. I get it. I understand. Her mama knew. And now I have to find her mother, like, because she's like the 9th of 10 kids. And I just need to know if all of the kids have good names too, because like now her mother has to name my children. Like I have to go find Gloria Hallelujah's mother, and I need her to name all my children because obviously you know what you're doing.
She's like a good name generator.
Yeah, like I just feel like I'd pay you good money to name all my kids. There's got to be a job somewhere.
It has to be, yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like somewhere somebody's job is to name babies.
But I think that really
caps. It's been a very long episode. But also, the movie was 2 hours and 41 minutes. There was no way we were going to do a 55-minute episode. We didn't even talk about everything that happened. Think about it. If we had done like a play-by-play, this would be like an 18-hour episode.
Yeah, that's very true. It would have been
we do a season of the podcast talking about this movie. Did a dire season. But this has been another episode of the No Sleep Till Hollywood podcast. You can follow me, Gaelyn Smith, at GSmitty with 2 T's and 4 Y's on anything with an @ symbol.
And you can follow me at Caleb Subtitles on pretty much anything. You know,
I like
and
how
of course,
you've been trying to be like me with the way that you say your things. Like I just want you to know that you're trying to be like me.
And of course, you can follow the podcast at No Sleep X Prod on Instagram.
The podcast, the production company, the lifestyle.
Don't you know it?
And on that note, we will see y'all next time. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for listening.
Bid you adieu.